It's my great pleasure to be talking to you, Kelly, today. Could you please introduce yourself and what you do for business?
It's my pleasure meeting you today too. My name is Nancwat. I'm a legal practitioner from Nigeria. I currently work with a firm in the capital city of Nigeria, that's Abuja.
Perfect. Let's talk about your legal practice. What is your area of interest currently?
Okay, currently I cutting edge interest that cuts across international law, dispute resolution, commercial law, and human rights law.
Why do you have interest in these areas? Why?
Well, I have interest in these areas because I have the intention of becoming a human rights activist, and I also want to handle transactions at the international level. So I want to develop this area so that I can get to improve my professional pursuit.
Perfect. What are your techniques to solve a legal issue?
Well, as a legal practitioner, when I'm
Wait,
confronted,
please, Kelly, please. Let me ask you this first. What is a legal issue? Kelly?
you said,
Yeah. What is a legal issue?
it arises from a transaction or any engagement between persons which would need a legal remedy.
Yeah, great. Then let's move to the next question. What are your techniques to solve a legal issue?
Practitioner, when I'm confronted with a legal issue, there are various techniques that I do employ to ensure that I effectively and efficiently. The first aspect to the matter.
What are your techniques to solve a legal issue?
Well, as a legal practitioner, when I'm confronted with a legal issue, there are several techniques that I do employ to ensure that I effectively and efficiently handle the matter. What I will do there first is receive all the relevant information in respect to the matter. After receiving the relevant information, I will go ahead to carry out inquiry to ascertain whether there are other facts that are likely to contradict or change the position of the issue at hand. After carrying out the inquiry, I will go ahead to carry out research to discover the relevant laws that are applicable to the issue. And then after ascertaining the applicable laws, I would apply the laws to the facts of the issue or the matter to ascertain the likely outcome of the entire matter. After that analysis, I would go ahead to accordingly advise my clients in respect to the next step to take. The advice can be either for the client to withdraw his claims or to seek for a legal remedy. And in a situation where the client opts to seek for a legal remedy, I would first of all resort to alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, that is negotiation, mediation, or conciliation. And in a situation where those alternative dispute resolution mechanisms did not yield any positive results, then I would, on my client's instruction, proceed to court to institute an action to seek for a legal remedy. So those are the techniques that I normally employ to handle a legal issue.
Perfect. Could you give us an example of a case that you handled and the steps that you went through?
Okay. At the moment, I recently handled a legal matter which involves a land dispute between two native communities. So I handled the matter, and by God's grace, the decision of the court was in our favor. That's in favor of the clients that I represented. So that was a recent legal issue that I handled.
Okay. And let me ask you, what was your final recommendation or advice, like to go with it or to withdraw the claim?
Yes, in a situation where I make an analysis of the likely outcome of the matter and discover that my client's case is not favorable to him, I would accordingly go ahead to advise the client to withdraw his claims. because even if we proceed to court, at the end of the day, the judge or the court is likely to give judgment in favor of the other party. So in such situation, I would at best advise my client to just handle the issue amicably with the other parties.
Let me ask you another question here. Like the judgment of the judge or the final decree, does it depend on the documents and the evidence that you give to the judge or your skill for handling this case?
Well, first of all, it depends on the evidence that has been forwarded before the court, because what the court normally looks at is the availability of evidence, so the evidence that have been put forward before the court in support of the party's case. So in a situation where the legal practitioner has all the requisite skills and presented his case in a very good way, but lacks the evidence to support that case, the judge is likely not to give judgment in his favor, irrespective of his skills, because the most important thing considered there is the evidence brought before the court.
Great. In practice, which is important, academic background or practical experience?
Well, both academic background and practical experience are important in legal practice because there needs to be more of an equal proportion for the equation to be balanced. For someone who has a very good academic background but lacks the legal experience, may tend to encounter challenges as he may not thrive in legal practice. At best, the person would be suitable for an academic environment as a lecturer. And on the other hand, someone who has practical experience but lacks the academic background may equally encounter challenge in terms of gaining employment into a top firm or organization, because the firm or organization would first of all take into consideration the academic background of the person before considering whether the person has any practical experience. But in the long run, someone who has practical experience is likely to make it big in legal practice than someone who just have academic background. Because what the client would be interested in is a person or a lawyer who can effectively handle the matter presented before him and not just the academic grade written on the certificate of such a lawyer.
Perfect. Okay, on a scale from 1 to 10, how hard or difficult is your job?
Well, for my job, it is not that difficult there, most especially if you are a very good lawyer who has a very good academic background and also practical experience. If you know where to get the relevant laws that are applicable to the instances, you would not see the work that's too difficult. But if you don't have that practical experience and you don't know where to get the relevant laws that are applicable to the instances, you may tend to see the practice more difficult. And also, if you are a diligent person, that is, you handle your matters accordingly without procrastination, then you are likely not to see the work that are too difficult.
Very nice. Let's move to your academic excellence. What awards have you won?
Well, at the course of my academic pursuit, I received several awards and recognitions, including, but not limited to, the overall second best graduating student in University of Jos 2016/2017 academic session, the overall best graduating student in the Faculty of Law, University of Jos 2016/2017 academic session, the overall best graduating student in international law. I was equally awarded scholarships like the World Bank Pan-African Undergraduate Scholarship in 2017 and the Regional Aziza Law School Scholarship in 2018. The last of such awards I received was the Tarok Imperial Awards, given to me by my native community in recognition of my outstanding academic performance of graduating with a first-class honors in law.
Perfect. Have motivation and passion affected your study?
Yes, both motivation and passion have affected my study in a positive way, because in achieving a set objective, one needs to be passionate or have passion about what he or she is doing, because where there is no passion, the person is likely not to achieve that set objective. And on the other hand, motivation is equally important because it makes things happen. For where there is no will, there is no way. The inspiration or motivation can come from the individual or from another person.
Perfect. Let me ask you, like, on a scale from 0 to 10, how motivated are the young people in Africa?
Well, the young people in Africa, the motivation is not there. If I would rate it from scale 1 to 10, I would like to give it scale 3 because the situation in Africa is becoming so worrisome. However, before I clarify that, I want to first of all applaud or commend some African youths that have been contributing their quota towards the development of Africa. But on a general note, majority of African youth are confronted with a lot of problems or challenges that is becoming a thing of concern. The first thing I see there is that is the issue of education, because a lot of African youths are indifferent about education and also going to school. And another problem I see with an African youth is the issue of drugs and crime. A lot of African youths engage in drugs taking and other illicit activities like banditry, terrorism, cyber crimes, amongst others. And another problem I see confronting an African youth is the issue of unity of purpose. A lot of African youth, we are not united. We don't have that unity of purpose as we are always divided across religious and ethnic lines. And another problem I see there is the issue of governance, because a lot of African youths don't like engaging in active governance. We rather allow ourselves to be used as sham or cheap political tool to disrupt electoral process and also rig elections. So those are some of the problems I see confronting African youth. But however, these challenges are not distinct from the fact that our African leaders have failed to provide the enabling environment for African youth to thrive. But what I have for each and every African youth out there is that we must rise to the occasion and begin to change the narrative.
Yeah, that is a very strong message. Okay, in practice, which is important, academic background or, what are the requirements and the duties to be a good student?
Well, for a student to be good or to achieve academic excellence, irrespective of the field of study of such a student, the student, first of all, needs to believe in himself. And the student equally needs to imbibe self-discipline. The student needs to work hard and also trust in God to see him through. In terms of working hard, for a student to achieve academic excellence, there are certain steps that the student needs to put into consideration. The first thing for the students to do there is to read ahead of the lectures so that the students can have a background understanding of the topic. And secondly, the student is to also attend lectures, and not just attending lectures, but participating actively in the lectures through note-taking, asking questions in class for clarifications, and even answering questions at times. And after the lectures, the student needs to form his or her notes using the jottings from the lectures and other relevant materials. After the note making, the student is to study the notes so that he or she can have a good understanding of the topic. And after the studying, the student should also ensure that he or she engages in group discussion with colleagues or lecturers within the school environment to get to clarify hazy areas and also get to understand the topic more better. And after group discussions, the students should also ensure that he or she revises what he or she has studied earlier on. And after the revision, the students should also ensure that he or she does her continuous assessment and equally writes the final exams. So if a student can diligently follow these steps, he or she is likely to succeed or can be rated as a good student.
Perfect. Let me say that if you like in an ideal world now, and let's project an ideal view of Africa, what is the best environment you can imagine where the African youth can succeed? Like, what are the requirements to build this ideal environment for success and for a good life?
Well, the ideal environment where any African youth can succeed depends on what the individual person wants to achieve. Using my own case, as a legal practitioner, I would prefer a stimulating and a fast-paced growing environment. And equally, in general, I would like to work in an environment or an area or a country or a region where there are basic infrastructure, social amenities, and equally favorable governmental policies that would be of immense help to my career
Yeah, Kelly, are you there?
any other, yes?
Yeah, continue, please.
Okay, so I said on a general scale, any African youths would need such kind of environment in order for he or she to thrive well in whatever he or she is doing.
Mhm. Perfect. Let's move to another perspective. How do you give back to a society?
Well, as someone who is passionate about learning and carrying others along, I normally give back to the society through activities like volunteering, active leadership, mentorship, public lectures, and pro bono services. In respect to volunteering, at the university and the Nigerian Law School, I form group discussions where I tutor equally served as a platform where students come together to share academic knowledge and help each other towards attaining their academic objective. In respect to active leadership, I have served in various leadership capacity, both within and outside the school environment, where I help to solve critical problems in the society and equally help in improving the state of affairs within the association or society that are served. And in respect to mentorship, at the moment, I have several mentees directly under my watch that I support and assist them towards achieving academic excellence and also developing their professional career. I equally operate a Facebook group where I share relevant information to lawyers and law students about scholarship, job opportunities, internships, amongst others. And then going to public lectures, as an academic and a motivational speaker, I have on several occasions been invited by organizations and institutions to speak on legal and societal matters. And I've equally engaged in motivational talks with some of my audience services, that is free legal services. As a legal practitioner, I have on some occasions rendered free legal services to indigent persons who were accused of committing criminal offenses, but who do not have the financial means to secure the services of a legal practitioner. So basically, those are the ways in which I give back to the society.
Could you answer my question? Like, now you are volunteering in a lot of activities. How would you ask the other young people who don't have the means and who didn't achieve success to volunteer to the society where they couldn't achieve their success?
Well, irrespective of the fact that such a person has not yet achieved his objective, but that does not shy away the fact that such a person needs to engage in volunteer activities. Volunteer activities has nothing to do with your success because it depends on what you intend to render to the society as your own contribution towards the development of the society. You can engage in a lot of things, even like native security watch by members of community. That is another way of contributing to your society. It does not matter whether you went to school or you are educated or you have succeeded in your business or not. This is something that you can easily do as an individual person, even without an achievement. So it depends on which way you want to contribute to the society. But there are a lot of ways that youth can contribute to the society without them yet achieving their set objective.
Perfect. Let's move to your professional development. Like, when can you start your own business? And if you can.
Well,
When? Yeah, go ahead. So, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, yes, I can start my own business even at this moment, because I can decide to open my own law firm and engage in private practice, or I can engage in other relative businesses like publishing and selling of books, or manufacturing and selling of legal outfits, or even open a school. But however, at the moment, I don't think I am much ready to start my own business, because I still want to work with other senior colleagues in the legal profession so that I can gain additional experience before I will finally decide whether to start my own business or not. But at the moment, nothing stops me from starting my own business if I so desire to do so.
Perfect. Describe the perfect circumstances where and when you can start your business.
Well, the special circumstance where one can start his own business, just like I earlier on said, equally depends on the type of business that the person would want to engage in. Because for someone like me who is in the legal profession, I would want to start any business that is relative to the legal profession where such things are being practiced. And for someone who would want to go into banking, such a person would also want to look at an environment where banking activities are thriving well. That is where the commercial activities are happening and where there is likelihood of clients coming over to patronize that banking business. So it basically depends on the type of business that the person wants to achieve, that he or she would consider or carry out a feasibility study to ascertain the kind of environment in which such his or her business can tend to thrive well.
Very good. What is your, how can you challenge yourself in the future?
Well, I will challenge myself in the future through continuous professional development and also expanding my scope of giving back to the society.
How would you do that?
Well, continuous professional development involves things like furthering my education, that's obtaining my master's and even PhD accordingly, and also get to engage in other certificate courses that would improve my knowledge in the legal practice. And in terms of expanding the scope of giving back to the society, remember earlier on, I pointed out some areas that I do normally engage in terms of giving back to the society as my own quota. So I would also want to expand the scope to be more than those items I have been engaging in, to open even like a charitable home or motherless baby home, or even an institution where students can tend to get quality education without necessarily paying any school fee. That is most especially for students in the society, children in the society whose parents cannot afford to pay money for their academic development.
Perfect. What other specialties would you be interested in studying that would help you with your development?
Well, if I want to study, I would want to study a course that has any relative importance to the areas that I pointed out. That is either human rights or international law or commercial law. So if I would want to study, I would study a course that has a bearing or connection to these areas that I have interest in.
Now, what is your message to the world?
Well, my message to the world is that we must learn to unite as a people and help each other towards making this world a better place to be.
It has been a great pleasure talking to you, Killi. I really appreciate your time and help.
It was really a pleasure talking to you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much.